I didn't print anything for anybody. I hope that's okay.
I think most of it should be.
Yeah,
it's the
yeah,
same.
that's what, yeah. I just wanted to be sure.
Oh,
I didn't print anything. I think we're trying to reduce our printing, aren't we? I hope.
appreciate it.
Need a nap?
Field trip today.
Probably from not texting.
We had a field trip today, though.
I wanted to say, Susan, did you have
I was catching up on the bus ride home.
Yeah, oh my gosh, it was all good.
I didn't do anything. I mean, it did this morning.
I
It
did,
just
but
kind
not
of
really, yeah.
dusting. Yeah, it looks like my tables that I don't dust.
Yeah, they said coating to an inch. We definitely got a coating.
Yeah.
No, they will be, you know, like in your restaurant, they just pay.
Yeah, so we're up there and add them on now.
Yes. Okay, save about 15 grand.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Where'd you go for a meeting?
Went to the Honeyland Center, and we saw a play, Frog and Toad, all year. And
Gee, I wonder where you could get a pin.
What was the name of the play?
Frog and Toad all year. It's based on a book.
But downstairs stinks.
I thought the hallway did, even up
Yeah.
here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know if that clock is even right. Somebody says it's not.
5
No.
o'clock right now.
If it's slow or fast, I don't know. What's the computer say? It's 5.
Yep.
So I'd like to have a committee meeting for the Parks Department. We have 3 things on our agenda tonight. We're going to begin with a camera system that you've received the information about from Kevin. And before we actually start this, Kevin, I would just like for you to update us on the cameras that we already purchased and when we can expect those to be installed.
So I spoke with Mission MSP, who's going to be doing the install for this one at a large scale. His name's Weston. And there was more my situation than anything. I kind of told him to hold off on the Houston for a while because we didn't have the utility pole set up back there yet with power since they're so far back, which got kind of misconstrued as let's hold off on the whole project until that point. So I got a hold of him 2 weeks ago, and I said, hey, we need to move forward. I know we still don't have The power we need to out there, that's something that we're still trying to establish with the utilities or however we can, but we can still go ahead and move forward with the cameras that are purchased up there. So he will be coming up this next week to start on that project, to start getting Houston and Little Turtle covered with what we already had from last year. That budget that we purchased those cameras will be functional as of next week.
Oh, good. And so, but we still have some cameras that are being used right now. We're just adding to them.
We have, I have a trial camera from Verkada that I've been using at Fairview, which is part of this proposal. That's been very pivotal for us over there. And then we have an older, antiquated system that we've had from Artec for a few years now, that are still in place at, well, the only ones that are kind of working right now is Riverside. The other location, since it's line of sight with the antennas, you have to have visual for the repeaters to take that signal and take that signal up to the hospital. So we've lost a couple areas like Houston with the utilities doing the wastewater plant back there. We've lost a Little Turtle because of tree work and stuff that's happened in that location. River Bluff Trail we've lost again with the different things happening back there. So there's been multiple zones that we've lost just because we've lost line of sight. This has been an ongoing problem since we lost the smoke or the power plant, the smokestack over there, because everything used to point to it. That was the main hub. After it got taken down, we've kind of had to readjust a couple times of how we get that signal to the hospital. So what this is proposing is kind of getting away from that line of sight situation. Each one of these cameras or systems will be directly, it will go basically to, well, I'm going to use this word very loosely, that's not really what it is. It's going to go to the cloud. It's going to go straight to their system, and then we would have access through it to any computer or cell phone, multiple devices. We wouldn't need a server. We wouldn't need a host of any sort for storage. We wouldn't need a VPN to access anything. It would all be housed through that site.
But that's what this new proposal.
That's what the new stuff. So the older stuff now is still on older hard drives, spinning hard drives.
Right.
The hospital has been gracious enough to keep that server space open for us, but with their changing firewall settings and tech support up there, things have been changing a lot up there. And again, with those old hard drives, they have limited time before they eventually die out too. So we're working with older equipment that isn't as sophisticated or advanced as things should be, and the back end to actually access the video, the files, if something were to happen, to try to scrub that footage right now is just absolutely ridiculous, trying to find an incident.
Yeah, unless you know the exact time and date of the incident in the exact location, it's really hard to find.
Right, we discussed all this at a meeting.
Sure.
And the person that came to represent this same company, MSP, they assured us that the cameras that we had would be utilized, and that we would add some new cameras, and I forget how much money that we agreed to pay for that.
So there was different iterations of that. There was multiple, in those meetings, there was a smaller, there was, let's go ahead and use some of our old cameras and use some gateways to kind of get those to work with their, they wouldn't be able to, they would function as a camera and a camera only. You wouldn't have any of the capabilities of these other ones. What we're talking here is the ability for person of interest tracking, vehicle of interest, license plate reader, facial recognition, stuff like that. Things that we, say if someone was going into the park and you don't remember what happened, something happened, but you don't remember what he looked like, and you could say, hey, he was wearing a red hoodie. You could type in red hoodie, and it's going to pull up all the people that were in the park at that day with the red hoodie. That's what this is going to do. That old system is just a point-and-shoot camera. If something's happening and that camera's on a zone it's just gonna just turn away. It's not gonna, they just kind of pan and zoom however they want to right now. There's nothing to say, hey, there's something happening right here. Let's stay here and take a watch. They're just gonna keep panning and zooming.
But the new cameras that we purchased do what you're talking
Yes.
about. So we do have some cameras.
So we have a couple right now that are gonna be at Houston, that this was the first, because we had it in our budget to get those couple. And then we updated 18th Street at Little Turtle just because there is no access to that one. No matter what we do line of sight, there's just no way of doing that. So we went ahead and did that camera also.
Right.
With that last proposal. So it's bought also.
Right.
But the company, we've talked about different ways to advance into a realm of security that we just really don't have. So we went through different options. And this option here that is being proposed is basically what they're doing is they're trying to give us exactly everything, 100% all of our parks that are where people would actually use, playgrounds or facilities, anything like that, pool, dog park, Little Turtle, the Depot, Spencer, Houston, Riverside, they're all covered. I think there's about nine
There's nine
parks altogether.
parks, yeah.
What they want to do is they want to go ahead and front all this right up front. They want to give us all the equipment, all the licensing, all the installation fees. All this is packaged into this $29,927 over the next 5 years.
Right, but that's annually
That would be
for
annual.
5 years.
It would be.
And so this is something you're asking us to consider the one-time cost of this.
Yeah, so we're asking for the one-time cost, and then we would try to work this into our budget from here on out to make this system part of our budget. The other good thing with this system is, unlike our other ones, these will have a 10-year warranty, which we can't say with our old system. If those fail, which they will, there's no warranty. We'll just be out that money. If anything comes new in this system, or if anything breaks in the system, it is covered for 10 years. If a newer product comes out, we'll get the updated product.
Well, so what is it that you say that you're going to make it be in your budget if the city pays this initial $125,000 fee? What is it that you would have to?
We wouldn't, I mean, if we went with the 5-year plan, if we're looking for the first-time payment, but if we're looking for the full, just pay it all out, there would be no stipulation on our side. There would be no extra budget that we would have to look at for these, because they would be covered for the next 5 years for service. We wouldn't have to pay a dime.
Evan, what was the amount? Now, you guys encumbered some funds, correct, on the cameras and stuff, or did you purchase the ones in the original agreement last year?
It was like 25,000 that we did last year.
It was
with
25.
the-
Did you encumber that, or did you pay for
5
it?
cameras that we've bought.
So are those the newer cameras?
Yes.
Yeah, uh-huh.
So why can't those be part of the 29,000 if we were to say, okay, let's do this? I mean, if you've already got 5 of the cameras on your list and you've spent 25 grand, seems to me like you ought to be able to go to them and say, well, for another 4,000 this year, and you can find that in your budget, I would assume. And you'd have the first year's payment done if you wanted to just do them all. I mean, is that an option, or?
I'm not sure. That's something I'd have to talk to the company about, because they're, from what I understand, they're not really one for putting a whole bunch of packages together. Like, they're kind of extended the offer to us, but I don't know how far we could take that into, since that was a prior purchase as of last year.
Oh, you don't think that includes that?
No, since it was
Oh,
already,
okay.
it was a
Already
separate
purchased.
purchase
Okay.
altogether. We've taken that out of this proposal. Like, those cameras aren't even part of this.
Okay, they're not included in this new proposal at all.
So, but you also, have you paid for them, or you have not paid for the cameras
No,
that
because we haven't received the service yet, so
Right.
that's been encumbered.
So you haven't paid for the cameras, and that's 5 new cameras. I wouldn't know why they couldn't alter this quote, include those 5 cameras, and then tell us what the total amount would be and how much you would be looking for an initial down payment, because you already have the $25,000 that we already gave you. We've already allotted that.
Sure.
Was that all you encumbered, Jan, just the 25 from last year, or?
That's what we had for
That's all we have
last
for
year,
budget.
yeah. That was what we had left over, so, but it's been, yeah, we did encumber that, so it's there. It makes sense to me to ask them to include that in all the warranties and all the service and installation and all that. I agree with that point, so.
See how close you can come to the $25,000 that you already have, and then if it's not something that you guys can cover, then you could come back to us and ask for it again.
Okay, I was going to say, if you didn't, the Parks Board did not pursue the Burkhart Park plan,
Right.
planning aspect, and so that's 25,000 right there. And we already did last year, Tyler was able to make it have, Armando pad got replaced last year at the end of the year, and so we don't have that to take care of this year now, and that was another 2,000. And so we would have the 30,000 this year, I think, because Kevin took care of his trailers, and both of those came in under what we thought that was gonna be. So if we can, we have 30,000 to do this year's payment right now. So if that's a possibility as well, so. But I think we can certainly look at, or ask them about how they could package the rest of the equipment into this proposal, so. I don't see any reason why we can't do that, so.
Yeah, I totally understand your need for having a better camera system. I totally understand that, and I'm sure that if you ask others, they'll feel the same way, but it's just that we've already allotted money towards this, and if we can skinny by with being able to get it and include the 5 cameras we already ordered, then doesn't that sound like the right way to go?
I'll definitely call the representative. I mean, he's been wonderful for this whole situation. We've been pursuing this since, our other
Right.
meetings, different options, He's been a lifesaver for us, trying to put stuff together for us. So that's definitely something I can go back to him and ask what the potential is, or what that number would look like if we were to go ahead and, with that last purchase, go ahead and roll with that, if they would roll forward. I do believe with this package, the company that we're working with, Emission MSP, has most of this stuff. So once this gets approved in any shape or form, this installation starts pretty much immediately with the other installation. We wouldn't have to wait, because most of the stuff is already on stock. It's something we won't have to wait for. So like I said, they'll be coming up here, within a week or so, and if this gets greenlit, that starts the whole installation process through all the parks. We wouldn't have to, have them come back, to do another.
You have to enter into a contract with them first.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
correct.
So,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
know that.
Yeah, so that's just, I think if you can call them before they come here for the installation and see if we can get a new contract, and if it can be within the numbers that we've talked about, I think that, I would certainly be in favor of that.
Your new cameras, you say they can pick up stuff that's happening along the trails, is that correct?
Correct.
The current cameras there, aren't they in motion? Don't they follow what's happening when there's movement?
They do if you have them set up to follow, but then again, they have them on a, like a Sentinel program, so it kind of just moves around to kind of capture more things. So if something's happening and it's time for it to move, it's going to go ahead and just move away. Even though there's something happening or something's moving, it won't follow it. The program's going to say, hey, it's time to go over here and take a look at this spot, which we've had. We've had instances where that camera's pointing right at cars of interest, and as stuff happened, it turns for the next 5 minutes to look a different direction.
Okay.
Yes, but at the same time, we don't know where everything is just going to happen. You know, it comes back to point and shoot. You have to kind of know your hot zones. That's one of the things with these cameras. Most of these are called multi-sensor cameras. So basically, you have one unit, but it'll have 4 cameras inside of it. So it'll be pointing, like the one I have at Fairview, it points probably 310 degrees. It doesn't do a 360 because behind is a wooden pole and a softball field or a back of a field. So we get to see a whole span of a whole entire park from one camera. So if anything's happening within that whole field, it gets captured. There's nothing that can get by it. So that's what we're proposing for most of these, is a very huge field of information being processed instead of a camera that follows.
And it's difficult to find what you're looking for, even if it gets a shot of something. It's very difficult to go back and look at the images to find what you're looking for. The new cameras,
You can type in search words and.
yeah, and it,
And they have 24/7 active monitoring. Their camera system has, I'm going to throw this word out again, it's another hot topic, AI. So it looks for violent crimes, things that are happening, fights. Those would automatically be called in for police interaction. If there was anything, guns being pulled, stuff like that, that automatically gets red flagged. If there's people of interest in the parks that aren't supposed to be in the parks, whomever that would be, you could profile a person and say, hey, this person's not supposed to be here. If they pop up on a camera in any of the parks at any program around town, that sets an alarm off. There's that person. It takes a picture of them. It's reported. Vehicles, stuff like that. It can be advanced detection where we wouldn't have that before. You know, if someone was in the parks that we knew was a problem, this would allow us to be alerted much quicker, or authorities to be, alerted much quicker than our old system. We would just have to wait for the incident to happen.
So, if you do get these new cameras, what are you gonna do with the old equipment? Is it
So
checked?
the old equipment, it still has a lifespan. I'm not saying how long of a lifespan because they are older and they've been out in the weather. We had a service on them a few years ago when we did the moving of the repeater stations. They were able to go in and clean the lenses and grease the gear, stuff like that, just do general maintenance on it. But that's been
Been 3 years.
3 years now.
Yeah.
So there still is life on them, and I'm sure there's someone, the hospital is not on this, and I know River Bluff Trail had a few of those cameras. So, we could look at potentially, helping them out with their situation up there if they wanted to take that route, they want to keep with this system, the older system, but, we could make those surplus or try to find a
Trade them
place.
in?
That company I'm working with doesn't really take those since it's an older system. I'm sure there's a market for them. We would just have to do our side of it to either, make them surplus and get them into the right hands, or I would hate to say auction because they would probably go for a little too cheap at auction. But I think if making them surplus, we could get them sold into the right company's hands that could use them.
You can either use them or sell them, correct?
Yes, yeah. They're still functional for what they are. Yeah. Definitely as is, but they're functional.
Thank you.
okay, so is everybody in agreement? Questions, or everybody okay with this idea?
Where are we going with this? Are we approving it?
See if they can, use their down payment and add 4,000 for the first 29.
See if they can have them amend this contract and include the 5 new cameras that we already bought, and then see what the number is. And they're already saying that they think they have $33,000 to spend, correct? So if your number falls,
30,000.
okay, so if it falls at $30,000, then everybody.
So I think really the question we're asking you is, can we do this lease over 5 years? We're asking for that to commit for a 5-year period of time. So every year our budget would have to reflect that amount. We feel like it's a priority in our parks for safety, and the police are able to help them and since we aren't able to have our own security people who would miss something anyway. I mean, you can't always be in the right spot at the right time anyway, so this would be a good thing for us to have for security systems, so, throughout the park, so.
I'm thinking, my opinion, Jan, is that I would be willing to do the 5-year lease if we can get this all consolidated together and work it out in your budget to where we don't have to appropriate any additional funds to you this year. Then I think it wouldn't be an issue to budget it in the future.
But the first payment, you're going to be responsible for the money that you've already encumbered and the money that you're saying that you can get from other line items, correct, Dave?
That's what it sounds like. Yeah, just once you get it all, once you get with the company, if they're willing to do it, I bring back what your new proposal is and how it's going to get paid for, and
Okay, we'll get working on that.
Have any other questions?
One other cool thing about them is that they'll count the number of people that are using the trails in the park, at the dog park, at the pool.
It has analytics built into
It
it.
has that.
Oh, that is good.
Do that too, which we're always wondering, how many people are on that trail,
Yeah, that's
So that'll
good.
be really helpful.
For all the people who say no one uses them, that would be good.
Think together.
Thank you. Now we're going to talk about the simulators for our new golf clubhouse, if you guys would like to come forward. I gave everyone an updated business plan that Kyle's going to explain to us.
First of all, I won't try and take up a whole lot of your time, but if everyone's had a chance to look over this pretty much lays out everything that we're looking to do. We want to move from taking Dykeman Park Golf Course to a 7 to 8 month a year operation to a 12-month operation, which we think is the right time to do it with the new clubhouse and the new space being provided to us. This is an industry, the simulator industry is just kind of taking off at the moment, and we started researching back probably in October of last year on different simulators, different models, our different options that we had. Finally settled on some finalizations of those decisions, and so this business plan, like it says, is just asking for your permission to go after a loan for $167,000. That includes installation of the simulators, the infrastructure to run them, and yeah.
Infrastructure overall, and with the whole clubhouse stuff, we didn't have Wi-Fi enabled stuff around there, and security cameras and other things, and that is included in this. And that security cameras also go down to the cart barns and down to the maintenance barn and down to the new maintenance pole barn that will house where our driving range is at. And just tell you guys a quick little story. One of the construction crews up there at the golf course working on it had their skid steer stolen last week. There's not a lot of people that go up there. It's easy to, come in. It would have been a lot harder to do it with, cameras, and, unfortunately, that's a day and age that we're in, So it's just not the simulators. It's other stuff that goes along with the clubhouse and things that we're asking for.
Total is $167,000, and that also includes $25,000 for, if you look on page 9, it shows you that the simulator setup is $92,625, the infrastructure is $49,408, the furnishings is $24,967, for a total of $167,000. Does anyone have any questions?
Set them up yourselves?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, they're pretty simple to set up. The technology's just really expensive.
Yeah.
How do you allocate time using those things?
How to allocate time?
Yeah.
Kind of the same way that, we set up tee times for when people are playing out on the course. If Dean calls me up and says, hey, I've got a group of buddies, there's 4 of us, we want to come over and play a round of golf, you can usually just guess that it's going to take one person an hour to play 18 holes of golf on a simulator. So 4 people coming over, that's 4 hours. You're charging $40 an hour, $160 or $50 an hour on the weekends. It's $200
And drinks and food.
and drinks and food and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
that's how, we'll have our T-sheet software that we have now has a simulator feature as well. So if, we can take reservations in advance, which I think a lot of this would be, because it's not like the golf course where we have
You can just walk up or something.
walk up and play. It'll be reserved times that are done ahead of time. And
Sell memberships to use those, or?
I don't think we would to start off with. Our golfers up there have been pretty fortunate that, once they pay their season membership, they pay $1 to play the rest of the year. It's kind of a discounted rate. I don't think we would go that route to begin with, especially if we're trying to pay these guys off. It's not something that I'm completely against, but I think in the beginning, we want to judge the popularity of them and go from there.
Yeah, we've been watching what other courses do and other places, and I go to my PGA meetings next week, and I'm going to pick people's brains again. And most commonly, there could be a discounted rate for someone that's a season ticket holder or something like that. But it's not a whole lot off, $6-8 an hour maybe or something. But it's most time it's you could have some Tuesday mornings, you might be your less expensive rate if you want to come in for $30 and do it or something, compared to, 3 o'clock after work and after school, they could be, a little bit more then. But, I've told the story a lot of times, you might have heard that last 2 years at my PGA meetings, it's pretty much been what everybody's talked about. When are they going to put theirs in or how they're going to put it in? They're trying to figure out, especially from northern Indiana, from Indianapolis north. It's very important for us to have these and to be able to succeed with them because it's just getting more and more popular.
See, like in the winter months, do you see like the need for more personnel, or do you think you'd be able to deal with it just with the people you currently have on staff, or?
Probably with the people we have on staff,
Through the winter months.
they're obviously we're going to spend a little bit more because they're going to be working,
Sure.
more now, but we hope, that, it's good enough that, it's, we have to really find more staff, that it's,
Yeah.
that it's, we think we can do it with what we have. Staffing's, as everybody knows, tough anyway, to find, but we have a pretty good crew of part-time people that, they would love more hours, so,
Well, I'm not just looking at it, I'm trying to figure out, what the cost is gonna be. I think your conservative estimate is just what you say, it's pretty conservative,
we think it is.
and it
yeah.
looks pretty good, but,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, if you had to grill me down and go with which one, we're going to be in the middle of those two.
yeah, I think you would too, Kyle, but,
So, yeah, but we have our current staff that we have now. They're chomping at the bit every March to get back to work. And you got anything we can do? Just hold on, I should have plenty for you to do in the.
And when these are
future.
extremely popular is like, they're popular in the winter, but a lot of times, people, it's 2 degrees outside, people even don't want to go outside. But when it's 38 degrees on, late March and they were wanting to play golf or they already played golf a couple weeks ago and the weather's bad again, this is when you get guys playing them all the time. Because it's, it's been nice, they've been out and they want to go play golf. And this is when, and the other thing, there's birthday parties and
that you can do with this is, that are extremely popular and a lot of other avenues for us.
Having a
Yeah,
league.
league will be our, I would say our guaranteed, source of income, but league would get people in there every single week, to play their league, and then, they get a six-pack of beer while they're at it, great, and just, that would be, income that we could depend on every week instead of just hoping people make a reservation for us, so, recently, we're in our second year now, but we just started our men's league back up for outdoor golf, and it's really taken off. We always have a waiting list for people to play on that. And different from outdoor golf, we can take as many teams as we want for indoor golf because they just play during the week. They don't play on one specific day. So, no, I think it'll work out just fine.
And both of your income projections for repayment of this $167,000 are both based on a 5-year plan, is that correct?
Yeah, obviously, if things are really well up there, I'd love to pay these off early, so but that's to be determined on how things go.
Have that ability, Kyle, with the loan to pay it off early?
We would make sure that we have that ability.
I think so.
Yeah, I think we
Yeah.
would.
Yeah, Security Federal, we did do an RFP, and asked, response we got from Logansport Savings, Horizon Bank, and Security Federal. And Security Federal was the lowest percent payback. It was 13%?
Yeah.
And so anyway, Lynn Ness said that there might be a difference in that a little bit in terms of just depending on how much we actually borrow, but that's about where we're at right now. That's for 37. Is that for just? I can't
Yearly
remember.
payment, a yearly payment that
The
we're
year
asking?
that starts this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the first year, we'll try to get that paid the first year. And that's why that's 37. If we have to wait till next year, it became 38,000 or something like that, so, anyway.
Expected evidently
Yeah,
from your original
Originally,
proposals.
when I sent that out, it was like 7.5%.
Yeah.
So I was pleasantly surprised with the lower interest rates that
That
we
was that was
received.
a good thing.
Yeah.
It only changed it a couple $1,000s, but that's a couple $1,000, so.
So is everybody okay with this and moving it? We need to move this to finance, Dave? Or what?
Goes through here, we'll pass it through finance, yeah. Yeah.
Questions, and is everyone all right with this?
I'm good.
I'm good. Okay,
Appreciate it.
thank you.
Okay, stop up by the clubhouse.
I appreciate all the work you did on putting this proposal together.
Right now?
You can't leave right now.
I thought we had to, wait.
You still have your credit card.
Third thing we're going to cover is the establishment of the credit card fees so that that can be charged to the people who are using credit cards at the golf club because they're paying a lot of fees now, and so if you'd like to.
I'll start this off, and I'll pass it off to Kyle, because he's the one that did a lot of the legwork on this. This was something that I always kind of looked at as just part of doing business, credit card fees. That was when it was $4,000 that we were paying in credit card fees a year. This last year was $12,000. One, we didn't have a way of doing it on our software either. Kyle comes to me this last fall and says, hey, we just got an update saying that we can now, charge credit card fees. Well, we didn't do any raise rates this year. This is kind of like us raising rates a little bit because we will charge 3% on credit cards fees, not debit cards, credit card fees. So that will save us, if we did 12,000 this year, all it's doing is going up and up, our fees. I mean, we look at over a 5 or 6 year period that this is $100,000 savings for us. We get a lot of people that come in there, I pay credit card fees when I go places. don't have an issue with it, you know? I mean, if it's $20, it's $20, I pay it, or pay the 3% on the $20. If it's more, you know, I try to make other arrangements maybe, and that's what people do, you know? So, I mean, I think it's a good thing for us, and it's, you know, it gets the guys that are, you know, using the card more.
Yeah, so I mean, just to piggyback on what Dean said, it's a 3% surcharge on credit card usage only. Debit cards, there's no charge to use a debit card. Obviously, cash is its own thing, so these are credit card charges only. In 2024, we took $404,337 in credit card transactions. So we're not talking small numbers here, but so how it'll work with the 3% surcharge, we will retain 2.7% as a credit on our statement from Heartland, which is our credit card processing company. The only fee that's associated with this program is Heartland will keep 10% of that 2.7%, so 0.3%. How's this going to shake out in real world? So if someone comes in on the weekend, they spend $50 in the clubhouse, they use a credit card, they'll be charged an extra $1.50 automatically. That is a good thing about this built into our T-Sheet software, is that it's the software making the decision on whether the surcharge should be applied or not. It's not the employee. They swipe or insert or tap the card. It recognizes if it's a credit card or a debit card, and it applies the surcharge accordingly. For bigger expenditures, so say someone comes up and buys a season ticket and a 7-day cart pass where they're spending $1,160, they decide to use a credit card, they'll be charged an extra $34.80. So that's really our biggest expenses up at the course, is when people buy their season passes with their cart fees and stuff. So, you know, for the normal weekend warrior, when they're coming in and paying their $50, you know, for their beer and stuff, they're charged an extra $1.50, like I said.
Is that the same way that you were charged before for credit card use? I mean, is that similar to the way you were charged when they used them instead?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The
So,
customer never saw that chart.
yeah,
I understand that, but I'm just.
It's the same rate.
It's the same basic setup.
Yeah, basically the same rate.
so we don't actually see money from this. You know, there's no dollars going into our account, but what it does, it offsets our monthly bill. In 2024, if this would have been implemented last year, instead of paying Heartland $11,496, we would have only paid them $1,222. So a significant, you know, difference there. And for the last 3 years of 22, 23, and 24, we paid $31,260 in credit card fees. Like Dean said, it used to just be the cost of doing business when it was, you know, $4,000 a year, but now we're looking at 11 and 12, and
Everyone knows, I mean, since COVID, everybody uses their cards a lot more, you know? I mean, it's just part
Like
of it.
a convenience fee?
Yes. Well,
no.
Yeah,
Convenience fees, there's some legal terms that it's a surcharge. There's a convenience fee where, I believe with a convenience fee,
We could go like 4%.
you're able to charge them more than what the credit card rate is, just so, you know, you're being reimbursed for the convenience of them using your credit card. This is a surcharge. What the difference is, I don't.
that's Kelly.
Kelly's
50?
Yeah, exactly, yeah, there you go.
So,
I think this is more of a legal thing, though, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
You have to post that or tell the customer?
Yes.
yeah, so to,
We're having a surcharge on each time they use a credit card.
yep, we'll have a sign posted at the front door and at the point of sale too. So legally, you have to do that if you're gonna do this program, so.
Charge a convenience fee anyway, are you?
No,
So
so it's just a surcharge.
don't bring it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, that's our plan.
Okay, so does anyone have any other questions? And so this would be us moving Parks Board Resolution 2025-02 to our council meeting, is that correct, Dave? We would move this to the next, which will be the first Monday in March. I think it's the,
Okay.
okay. Thank you very much, and that concludes my
Thanks for all the work, guys.
committee meeting at 5:41.
Huh? Yep, you're up on the schedule, Scott. Come on up there and help. Here, I'll
Settle down.
pass these down. I got this since we.
Planning and Economic Development meeting will start at 5:41. Thank you. We had a gifting of some land. Is that correct, Aaron? You want to tell us about that, please?
I think you have first the D designation. Is that on the agenda first, or
What is it now?
the D designation or
Designation.
the
Okay.
designated Heritage Park? Okay. So Heritage Park, which is part of the overall farmers market plan, is currently a local designation which gets reviewed to make sure that it stays with the historic character. It's just contributing, and there was a whole staff report that was submitted to Historic Preservation Commission that actually held a public hearing on the 13th, I think. Yes, February 13th. And then, so what they're submitting today is their recommendation to remove just the Heritage Park portion. So they didn't feel like it used to be contributing to the overall depot area, which will still be a designated area. So basically the Iron Horse Park area will still be a designation to keep with the historic character of the depot. But they felt that because that is there now, that Heritage Park wasn't as contributing as it was when it was initially established. So they're recommending removing Heritage Park, which is just that strip of grass with the fountain and everything, out of the local designation. So how it works, just so that you guys understand, is that Historic Preservation actually holds the public hearing, but they only do a recommendation to council, and council actually does the ordinance on whether that's de-designated or not.
I did share the letter we got from Barb Stein with them, Aaron, on how that. And then I also sent you the resolution from the parks on transferring that over to us so that we can complete the transaction over to the Community Foundation LLC.
And I currently have title search that has been done for all of the farmers market property, and an attorney that's currently working on the deeding over. And then have you talked about the fountain or the statue portion, keeping that?
No, the statue is going to be,
Kind of
they're
carved
going
out
to, they're going to come up to about 5 feet from the back of the statue base.
for
the
us as the
property.
city to keep, so that that immigration statue stays in that location, basically.
Yeah.
So that would be cut out and left as city-owned property, and then the transfer would be the rest of the property, including Heritage Park and what's currently known as the farmers market.
Say cut out, what do you mean?
It's just, it will be split out of the existing parcel. So that whole land, it won't be one strip anymore. There'll be a cutout around, basically, the statue
You know-
that we'll own.
Do you know how much? It's just going to be the statue?
It's
or-
about 30 by 64
Okay.
feet, so it's just right there. We
Yeah,
got
but-
about 5 feet on the back side of the statue just for maintenance of it.
Okay, so you still have room for the public to get to it?
Yes, so it'd be from Market Street, so the back of the sidewalk, 30 feet back, and then basically where the grass is now, so that's about 64 feet, I think, is what it was, from that alley west.
Okay. Any other questions for Aaron?
Do we know what's going on with the fountain? I know there's a big deal going on with that.
Jan would actually be the one to know more about the fountain part.
Okay. Just wanted out there.
I said, no, I don't need you. Never mind.
Lot of
I need you.
questions
Come
on
up
it.
here.
So we don't know what's happening with the fountain. Actually, we can't do anything with it until the ground is not frozen anymore, because Kevin tried to do what he could to get it out, and it's really stuck there right now, so.
Sure.
We're gonna try to work with the guy that helped us with the coal fountain. Bruce Yates is this man's name, and he's done a lot of different fountain work throughout the Midwest. And so we're hoping that he's gonna be able to help us, because it needs to be restored. It's in bad shape. I think if somebody went up and played with one of the bowls, it would all tip over. So that's one of the things that really needs to be fixed. And, I don't know what kind of cost is gonna be involved in that, but hopefully we can get him to take that, and then he can fix it on his side, so that at least while it's, it being fixed, it'll be in that location. So that was one of the questions that the HPC had the other day. So where's it going to be? Because that's how it came to us. It was in front of the courthouse, and when they put in the new courthouse, it got lost. Nobody knew where it was at for a while, and they found it in somebody's barn or something, I guess, but that was before my time. So anyway, but it is definitely an old historical fountain. It's made of an iron that's, pig iron is what I remember being told it was. So it's really fragile, and so it does need some tender loving care, for sure. So, and we also, like, wherever we put it, when we get it, it needs to have water directly to it, because right now, our staff goes in and pours water into it every couple days to keep water going through it. Pump is not a direct line either. So they have to have an electric line go into the water, which, that's not a good thing, but with the pump that's right there. So it could also do a better job of, if we had a better pump, we could have a better flow coming out of the duck's bill. But anyway, so.
The intent of the designation is that basically they would like to see the fountain be put into another park, was basically
Yeah.
their request.
A historic park of some sort. And the idea of maybe it going to the memorial home was brought up too, and, that might be an alternative. But Spencer, Riverside, it was at Riverside at one point, but honestly, I worry about it going to Riverside because vandalism is so easy to happen there. So, anyway. And then Spencer, Riverside, Dykeman, those are the historic parks, so.
And one of the things, if the council would want later, you can always designate individual things. So if you guys wanted to make sure that fountain was taken care of and that it was stayed in the new location or something like that, you can always put a local designation on that structure too. So as a future thought, just throwing that out there.
Water hazard for the golf course.
Yeah, there you go. That'd be really dinged up.
Okay,
Any other questions about the fountain?
thank you, Jan.
Stan,
Thank you.
any other questions from the council? Everybody in favor of moving this on to the March 2nd? Second, right? March 3rd, okay. Very good. I apologize, I was out of the country during this planning for this meeting. Dave, what is next on this? Is it
Basically, the other two are just reminders. We've previously okayed transferring 2 lots on 19th Street to Habitat for Humanity, and Aaron's been working with Andrew Stevenson, kind of bring him up to speed on that, Aaron.
Yeah, so we also did some title searching on those 2 properties. They're currently combined. There's actually 3 lots there, but 2 of them are combined on the corner. So there's 2 lots that you'd be transferring as of now. And what they have wanted to do, or what we have talked about doing, is putting on a stipulation just to make sure that they move forward with those lots. So we actually have an agreement that would also be signed and recorded with the new deed that would basically say that within 1 year, one of the homes would be constructed, and within the second year, a second home would be constructed, or that we would be able to get that property back, just so that we see movement on the property. So that was the only real additional thing, other than the transfer that I don't know that you guys have talked about previously.
Yeah.
We talked to the two gentlemen there, and I think they agreed with
We had already approved to move it.
Yeah, I just
forward.
didn't
We're
know if you
doing
talked
it.
about the agreement.
Hopefully, we'll have it ready for the March 3rd meeting.
The agreement just might have been new. I didn't know if you guys.
Yeah, the agreement we discussed with them since the last meeting that we had on this,
So that's why I wanted to bring it up, because
Yeah.
I wasn't sure you guys talked.
and they were fine with that.
I've seen 7 containers coming in.
Huh?
you want that down on paper to make sure that's more than.
Yeah, yeah, so there's actually an agreement that will be signed and recorded when we do the deed as well, so that we
Okay,
have that.
Okay, any questions about that subject from the council?
Jason has a question.
Yeah, come on up, sir.
So,
State your name for the record, please.
Jason Crittenden, Parks Board. If the Parks Board is ceding the property of the Heritage Park back to the city,
Oh.
does not the city then own the fountain?
The city's always owned the property.
But I mean, it wouldn't be the Parks Department's responsibility anymore to pay for all of that or to take care of that fountain if it goes back to not Parks Department property.
Is that just the property, or is that the equipment that's on the property also? Do you know, Aaron?
The city has always owned it, so it's never been the Parks Department that's owned it. They've just
Just
maintained
been in the
it.
park.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, because it's going to be a major undertaking, I'm afraid. And so we've been, thinking about this on the board. It's like, well, what do we do? Because I don't think it's going to be as easy as just, let's remove it, put it on the truck and take it somewhere. I mean, there's going to be quite an expense to this. And there's going to be, without trying to be political, there's going to be a lot of community backlash because somebody's not going to like how we do it or who we have do it or where it goes. And so there's just some concern there. And when you guys were just talking about it, it popped in my head. It's like, well, is it really our responsibility anymore if the park is no longer a park and it's just city property that's gone back to the city? So I don't know. I mean, if it is, it is, but that's just something I wanted to raise the question because I'm not sure how that works.
Sure, possibly. I mean, that's the, if it's become attached to the property and would be, if you deeded the property over, you'd be getting it if,
Everything on the property?
yeah, I mean, if it's not readily movable, but, and that'd be something I would say if I was wanting to keep it and I was selling the land, I'd say I'll get the thing out of there, on it, it'd be negotiated as part of the transaction. But I mean, it kind of depends on whose budget the money's gonna come out of, because.
Yeah, because that land's always been the city, so it wasn't that they actually transferred it back to the city. The city's always owned it.
Isn't the city going to be transferring that land to the community foundation for the farmer's market?
Right.
So then that makes the fountain be, the community
Right,
foundation
I would
owns it.
assume that would be removed,
I mean-
have you before.
Well, I think that was a I don't know the legality of it, but part of the stipulation was that the city or the Parks Department would go in and move the fountain in order to transfer the land. I guess in the long run, Jason, I don't have a perfect answer for you, but I'd say that if Jan gets in touch with this guy, I don't remember what it cost us when we dealt with the one down there by Eel River Avenue. But I remember, we had to do that, and I mean, basically, at this point, our objective is to get it moved, and then we can decide how it gets funded. But, I think, at least in my mind, it's the objective of everybody to get it back up and working and located in a site, in an area that's in plain view for the community to enjoy it again. So,
Okay. Curious.
But we'll get there.
Cost. I mean, it's easy to sit here and say, well, we're going to put it in a park, but, if you're talking about
the whole thing.
$100,000, what are you going to do with it? So I think you just have to wait until you see what the costs are, and then then we can decide how to move forward.
Thanks.
Thank you for your statement.
We'll work on that.
Yeah.
Anything else related to planning and economic development?
The only thing, and it's just another reminder, Peak is getting the legal description written up for the alley vacation we talked about previously, and just wanted to let you know that'd probably be on the March 3rd council meeting. Hopefully, we'll have that all in place by then.
What now? That was wrote up by Peak?
The alley that they brought to you in committee previously, they're writing up Andrew Stevenson is actually working on that for them to write up a legal description so that they can complete the process of vacating that.
Okay.
So that'd be coming up. Thanks, Aaron.
Darren? Yep.
Thank you, Aaron. Appreciate it. The planning and economic development meeting will be over at 5:57.
He's gone.
Finance meeting at 5:57. First up on the agenda, Language Services, Mayor.
So we, back last year, recognized that there was a barrier between the languages in our community, which I'm sure you all are aware of. So what we did is we took our contractual services and decided to try the program before coming to council. So we tried the program. It's working. It's working really well. In fact, they're adding more things to be able to have easier access for translation services, including text messaging, which will be a little easier for some of us. So that's something else that they're adding. So ultimately, what I'm asking council to do is to continue the program. Contractual services are meant to start something and then see what it does. We did, it's working, and so now we know that this is a need in our community. So we kind of want to ask council to come on board and offer their assistance as well.
Do you have any kind of, can you give us an idea when you say it's working well?
So it went
Tell us.
from, so don't quote me on the exact numbers, this is around the numbers. So when we first started, it was less than 100 people were utilizing it. And then within 2 or 3 months, it had increased to about 300 to 500 people utilizing it. And it continues to move up every day because they're marketing better. You know what I mean? They're marketing it better now in our community. So a lot more people are starting to recognize that we have it.
So when you say it, like, I don't.
Sorry.
I guess I don't,
Yeah.
well, right, but I don't understand quite.
Translation services. So ultimately, a person can call or text the number that they will supply, and then at that point, they are able to translate for whoever needs the translation services. So like our city services, parks, you guys use it? Police does. Police does. Fire, I don't know if fire does, but there are multiple within our city that utilizes this. But it's more a benefit to the citizens than anything, especially with the influx of immigration. I think that this is a good move on our part, as a city's part, to let those folks know, hey, we are still here, and that we do understand that there is a barrier of language, but we as a community want to help you with that barrier. And so I think that this program does that.
How do they get the number?
They have data that they utilize, so every phone call is documented. And I can get that to you guys, of course. He actually sent it in the email, but I don't know if you guys were attached on that. So I will send that to you.
I don't have any, and the reason I asked you how often it was used, I asked several departments if they used it, and they said no.
Yeah,
So I'm just curious how it, I don't know the system, quite honestly, Chris, so I'm not saying it's not being used, I'm just not aware, and evidently some of the departments aren't aware that it's being used if it is.
And we want to change that.
So, I'd like to see some info before we go any further.
Yeah, I'll get that to you guys before the council meeting, for sure.
But,
That way you'll know.
well, I guess what I'd say to you is, Chris, I've talked, just like I was telling Jan, we really don't want to appropriate any additional funds at this time. I looked at your contractual services. Well, actually, I looked at the history. You encumbered some money for language services, so there's like 2 months payment. If we continued with just what we had, there'd be another 2 months payments in those encumbered funds. and you've got enough contractual services to get you through another year of the contract.
Yeah, I think it's mainly just kind of letting you guys know that, hey, as we continue to move forward, this is something that we're looking at continuing long-term.
Yeah.
So that way you guys understand where we're at as far as paying it. So, because you're right, we do have enough, but the idea is to have council put some skin in the game, to let the people of the community know the council's also supporting this.
Which contract are you using presently? I read 3 contracts today.
I know.
Well,
We sent 3 different new,
There were honestly like 5 different ones in there, and I just picked out the one that would, basically, in checking, our contract runs out the end of this month, is the way I've got it figured, if I read it right. So if we were to just tell them we wanted to up for another year, they're saying they'd give it to him at the same price, $24,000.
So he's
That would
using
run
the-
from March of this year through the end of February next year.
Okay, so that's the cheapest contract.
Because
of
there's
the
one in here
3.
that's like 42,000
Yeah, there's-
too.
Yeah, the first
There
one,
was like
Okay.
5 of them in there.
yeah, so you're presently paying $24,000, which is the simplest contract they offer you, and this really only offers you for the language of Spanish. That's it.
And so that's why he sent the other ones. So right now, we're only utilizing Spanish, but I think that they were looking at French Creole as well, because I let them know about the Haitian immigration that we had recently, and so that's something that they wanted to add. And so that's why he sent so many of the contracts,
Right.
because each contract has something different in it.
Right, yep.
And I wanted council to be able to choose what you guys wanted, you know?
Did you follow up on the letter you said you were writing, and have you sent that out?
So I have a meeting coming up with the Secretary of State, Diego Morales, and so we will be discussing that
Okay.
at that time. And that'll be probably the final thing that I need to do to really know which direction to go. But yes, I am definitely sending that letter.
Right.
And once if we sign the agreement this year, that's something that I want to utilize for background. You know what I mean? To when we sit into the state and the federal government, I want to show them proof that we had already done this. You know what I mean? I think that's going to show a lot. And then that's where I think that the reimbursement would come, is from what we've already paid into translation services. I
We've
think
just been doing this 1 year, Chris.
I'm sorry?
This is just going to be the end of the first year we've done.
Exactly. Yep. It's a 1 year deal.
So it's just questions about how the city works or how the police, I mean, just specific to,
Specific to that department.
I
or
want to
what
know
they
about
need.
my trash, or I have a question about a crime, things like that.
Exactly.
Okay.
And they can text that. And the beautiful thing is, and this is what I love about Language Matters, is one, they are community partners. In fact, Lucas, who owns Language Matters, is on the immigration committee. So that helps a lot. And you know that, Haley, right?
That's my question. I want to know who owns this business.
Yeah, so they're out of Fort Wayne. He's out of Fort Wayne. His name is Lucas. Him and his wife live in Fort Wayne, and so they travel a lot. But there's a lot of communities that have come on board recently throughout the state of Indiana that have joined Language Matters. And so they're a good company. They have 30 to 50 staff members, I believe, but they're constantly growing. And as they continue to add more communities, obviously you need to grow, so.
How is this different than the translation services contracts that we have with individual people?
So the individual people get called out, to whereas this is just, they're always there. So they're not always, so they're there during business hours. And that is mainly for our city departments. But what we want to do is we want to incorporate this into non-for-profit organizations as well throughout our community. So that's something that we will talk about obviously later on, but right now it's more of a focus on city and citizens. And so then as they're advertising this inside these businesses, then more and more people will get word of it and start utilizing it a little more. And so we've talked about after hours, you know, the 5 to 10, you know, or 5 to midnight, something like that.
Chris, in this contract, I'm assuming it was the same for this year, the one that if we just renewed it, it'd be the same price?
Mm-hmm.
It says it's available 4 hours a day, 5 days per week. What are the hours that's typically available?
So I would say 8, so you're talking 4 hours, so that they ended at 3 or 4 every day. They end around 3 or 4 every day. So that would be 11 noon.
So basically, in the middle of the day, these service, and that'd just be Monday to Friday, these are available.
And that's where I think we can talk to them about saying, hey, this is great, but we need more time on, to be able to offer this. I think that's something we could talk to them about for sure.
Yeah.
If we did this, I think that we'd have to do the Haitian Creole.
Oh, 100%.
As well, and that contract, it does say 8 hours a day,
Okay.
Yeah.
but,
But then we got to appropriate money to do that.
right.
Have the money to cover that because that's $30,720. So now you just,
So would you guys be willing to split that, the 30,000? Do half of it out of my contractual services, and then half of it from you guys? And then that way we can try the program, and then we can approach this for next year and see if we want to put it on the budget.
How about if we do this, Chris, since we don't really have any numbers on what's happening here? I mean, I'm not saying it's not, I just don't have anything to look at.
Right.
Can you ask them, you've got $4,000 encumbered, so you could ask them if you can extend their contract for a month. You've got the money already encumbered to do that. You can come up with some, something to show us, find out what the exact hours operation are, and, so we got something, see what we're paying for here.
Absolutely. No, absolutely agree. Yep. I just appreciate you guys letting me discuss it. And so, yeah, what I will do is I will send you guys an email of their information. And what I'll do is I'll actually email him and ask him to give me an updated list of information. That way you guys will be perfectly updated up to now.
Okay.
I think it'd be a good idea for him, I mean, if he's able to come and actually
Absolutely.
show us exactly, I mean, send a message and show us how it works. 'Cause I just
Absolutely.
still don't quite.
He asked if he needed to be here, but I didn't know that he really needed to be, so I will ask him to come. Yeah, I'll ask him to give a presentation, for sure. Yep. All right.
Is that a plan for now?
Yep, I'd just table it for now.
Huh?
I'd table it for now.
Yep.
They'll need to go
See
to
if
the
you can get an
next.
extension for a month and.
Exactly,
All
yep.
right.
Awesome, thank you.
All right. Okay, well, club, RFP for the clubhouse, basically, we've agreed that everyone's okay with moving that forward. And same with the credit cards.
yes.
Okay, the next one on the list is the boulevard on the trees on the boulevard. We're gonna start, we put out I'll pass this down to you guys and you can look at this. Basically, we had 5 local tree contractors that we reached out to. 2 of them didn't have good email addresses. 1 of them didn't respond, and we got responses from 2 contractors. The low bidder or the low estimate for those trees was from Heartland Tree Services. And did I send you guys, I think I sent you that information, didn't I?
Yeah, you did.
Okay. Structure fund, I think we've spent a little bit of that money, but there was $25,000 put in there this year. It would more than cover the trees on the boulevard if we wanted to go ahead and award that contract.
This is just to trim and remove the dead ones, right?
This is to cut down 9 trees on the boulevard. It's not all of them. And then they're going to go back at the appropriate time and trim, and I don't have the exact list in front of me here. It's like 20-some trees.
This is the list that shows you, they're gonna remove those, and then they're gonna trim these trees. Okay.
9 trim 18.
Talked with, Chad has actually talked to me, him and Kevin, and what we thought we might do next year is plan ahead and possibly talk to the LMU and you guys and set that up ahead of time. Since we'd already gone through this, we decided to go ahead and do it for this year. Sound like I was up at the golf course one time, looked like you still had some trees up there to cut. You may be done now, but.
Well, we did want it there, we've got more tomorrow.
But I appreciated that you mentioning to us that you guys thought you could do that. So next year, he says, basically what happens is that LMU cuts them down.
Yeah, they drop the trees to the golf course. We go up, cut them up in pieces, pick our loader up in the dump trucks and help them out.
And then Kevin's got a stump grinder. So,
So it could be part of the pilot program for our in-kind services next year.
coming down, so.
Yeah, good idea.
Is everyone okay with awarding that to Heartland? And Kelly, I'll send his, oh, Kelly's gone. I was just going to say, I'll send his liability forms and stuff to Kelly to make sure everything's in order before we hire him to do that. Actually, it's not. He got outbid. So
Tell her that.
I will contact him to let him know he wasn't, that we had, we took another bid. Yeah. So, all right. What do we got left here? All right. I believe I sent you this too. I've got some information here on this. I'll kind of pass these down here. This is a grant application that we're going to apply for the memorial home. We're getting ready to apply for a couple more grants. One's through T-Mobile, one's through Subaru. This is an example of all the work that can go into putting a grant application together. And I wanted you guys to see it. You know, until you get halfway involved in anything like this, you really don't know all the work that goes into it. So I suggested to Malcolm Gerald that maybe he get paid for some of the work that he's doing. He's put in, by his estimate, over 100 hours in probably the last 6 weeks on this stuff. This is the third grant application that he's prepared. He'll be working, and he goes up like we've awarded the environmental testing. We sent that out to 6 people. It came down to 2, and one of them was in our budget range. So he goes, he meets with these people, walks through the building with them. He's doing all the research on grants. He's doing all the preparation. Once he gets a packet like this put together, he runs it by Deanna Crispin and Vicki Bird both. They make suggestions or corrections or whatever they feel is needed. And his proposal would be that he would get paid up to $2,000 a month, $40 an hour. The maximum would be $2,000 a month, and that this contract run on a 30-day. We can stop it at any time that we feel that we're not getting any value out of it. But he's doing work that I don't know. Erin's not here. She can tell you about grant work and all the time that goes into these. I know that Deanna hired grant writers to assist them to get the Lilly grant. It's really a complicated process. So I sent the contract to you, and the only suggestion I had made to him was on that contract is that there was a 30-day out for either party. You know, you could end it at any time. And we could pay for that. We have money we had money budgeted in the council budget for Squeal on the Eel, up to $20,000 this year. Since there's not going to be any event, we could use that miscellaneous fund money to pay this contract in the interim. And this would, the council agreed and it passed through, this would be effective March 1st for work going forward. None of the work that he's done up to this time. If you want to think about it, we just got this packet put together today, so that's why you're getting it. But you can tell that there's a lot put into it. He's currently working with 2 different restoration individuals that they do nothing but work on restoring windows. He's been going back and forth with them, and he's actually trying to put together part of the grant money would go towards the window restoration if we got those. But he's working with them to bring both of them in at the same time because it's going to be a time-intensive operation. The one fellow is a Logansport native, Doug Hardy. He lives in South Bend now. Some of us older people might have known his dad. His dad was Gene Hardy, who worked for Steinbergers for years. And the other fella is, I'm not sure where he's from, but both of these were names that we got from Deb Parcells at Indiana Landmarks. And he's been working nonstop to try and coordinate this, and if all goes well, that his plan is for them to hopefully start around June on the windows. Any thoughts on this, or?
I know how much work Malcolm has put into helping with the Memorial Home Friends, and I also know how hard it is and how much work it is to do grants. I've never done one, but I know people who do write them. It's extensive work, it's time consuming. I would just suggest not to do the 30-day out because he might be the one that gets tired of us.
Well, I'll tell you what, if anyone doubts what he does, I can send you my file on Memorial Home. It's nonstop. I mean, he runs everything by me. I never imagined what kind of work, and we had our first call with Okra, or what is the name of that group? Jacob, the regional people, Stephen Ray and Tim Carson.
Indiana Regional Planning Council.
And that's to work towards a $750,000 grant, and there's a lot of work that goes into that also, and you know, but if we want to get this thing done, we need somebody to help move us down the road on it, I believe.
We know how many windows are in the Memorial Home?
60-some.
60-some? Okay.
He can tell you the exact number. I
All
don't
of
know
them
it
are
off
in
the top
need
of my
of
head,
some type
Scott.
of treatment or work? I assume.
Pardon?
All of them are in need of some type of work or restoration? Okay. Sure.
He's actually got a guy coming, because, you know, the big windows on the alley side that face north, we got a guy coming in to see about putting scaffolding up for them to work on that, you know, having it done properly, so we don't have, he's reached out to Greg about what kind of power, running through those power lines up there, and, I mean, it's not gonna be an easy undertaking to get these windows done, but.
Storing them, not replacing them unless we have to?
We actually got a price for replacing them all, and it was about $200,000. And we were told that if you restore them properly, the R factor between the old and the new is not that great. So if they're done right, they'll seal the air out, but it's going to be expensive either way. We're looking at least $100,000.
And if you replace them, are they going to lose their historical significance with the wood?
That was Deb Parcells' feeling, that you'd lose some of the significance and possibly maybe wean yourself out of another grant that you might be able to get. He's got several other he's looking at right now. There's a Jeffries grant that was the purpose in getting our status upgraded to state level from local level to be eligible for that grant, and I think it has a fairly high limit that you can go for on that. So is everybody okay with moving this forward, or you want time to think about it, or?
No, I think it sounds good. Just another step to get the Memorial Home done.
BJ?
I wouldn't want to do this job, no.
Cam, you okay?
Yeah, I do. Let him do it.
All right, we'll move this forward. Thank you. All right, what do we got left here? What's on our list?
Revision of,
Okay, yeah, just a quick, the revision of the longevity ordinance. Jason can tell you that we created a new matrix system, so the old longevity system that's in the ordinance is not correct anymore, so we need just to get the okay to rewrite that ordinance. And basically, it'll show as a matrix. There'll still be the wording in there that if someone leaves and they come back, they would get half of their, I think it says if you come back within 5 years, you can get half of your time back, so that you would slot into the matrix like you would if you were getting part of your longevity back. But the police was rewritten last year. We just need to do the fires this year to get that up to speed. So.
That also take care of the change that we needed to make for having a maintenance person on each shift?
That was in the salary ordinance.
That's a salary ordinance?
That's already been corrected.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. And then last was ordinance 2024-09. I showed you what the original wording was there. We had approved that ordinance. We had approved that ordinance in the past year, and the clerk's office had some issues with the way it was worded, so we're just going to reword it to make sure that State Board of Accounts wouldn't come in and question the expenditures on that. So it's just a technicality more than anything. And I put the suggested wording in there, and I'll run it by Robin to make sure that it's suitable for when she does payouts and stuff, if everyone's okay with that. And honestly, that's it. It is 6:22. Let's call the finance meeting. Oh, I did want to mention one thing. Susie and Haley and I went to the third session that Bill held, and appreciate that he had us there. We had the ability to talk to all three of the local representatives, Stacy Donato, Ethan Manning, and Heath Van Etter, and kind of told them, our concerns about some of the proposals about property taxes and business personal property, and the effects that we were concerned they'd have on city budgets and stuff. And we felt like they were receptive to that. They had made amendments to the original one that would have impacted us to the tune of about $850,000 a year less in general fund each year. And that was the first year it would have increased for the next 2 years. It's considerably better, but it's still of concern because it would be less revenue than what we're currently getting. So I think you all get the AIM, do you get the AIM emails? There's a lot of good stuff coming through there that I hope you're kind of reading it and keeping up on it. These bills all change, but I think they said the next time it was going to come up was early March. It went from the Senate, it's going from the Senate now to the House. The Senate passed the revised edition. So just something to kind of keep an eye on. And I guess that's about it. Anybody have anything? Comments from call this meeting adjourned at 6:24.